From Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, Fred Lening. From San Mateo, California, Billy Hardwick. Two more of the world's greatest bowlers on championship bowling in a three-game match. From the Firestone Bowlerama Lanes in Akron, Ohio. Hello, everybody, from Akron, Ohio, championship bowling. This is Fred Wolf. We start the finals this week. The two boys that are the two highest scorers over our 24 qualifying matches. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up. We'll go 2 weeks, a total of 6 games. A 300 score worth $10,000. All competition sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. We're in Akron, Ohio. It's championship bowling. With us again this week for the finals, as a matter of fact. For the next 2 weeks, Bill Bonetta from Fresno, California. Bill.
Oh, Fred, how
Well, we've been waiting for the start of this one. A couple of boys that have done such a tremendous job. Billy Hardwick setting an all-time record with 1466 for 6 games. That's about a 244 average.
Wow.
And Bill Lening, Daddy Lening, they're averaging 227 for 6 games, but they will start from scratch this week.
Yes, in the beginning, Fred, I don't think anyone could have picked, out of 24 great bowlers, named the 2 bowlers that could finish on top. And yet, I don't think anyone should be surprised to find that Fred Lening and Bill Hardwick are here bowling for the finals. 2 great bowlers who have had exceptional years and have continued their streaks.
Now, would you like to pick a winner over the next 2 weeks?
Oh, would you?
No, I'm not going to, but I thought being a pro bowler, Bill, and a member of the Professional Bowlers Association, as our 2 finalists are, you just might have a favorite, but you don't want to stick your neck out, I guess.
No, I don't. There's quite a difference in styles here and even age brackets, but the similarity, of course, is that they're both fine competitors, and I expect to see big scores here.
All right, stand by. Let's have the folks meet them. Ladies and gentlemen, from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, Fred Daddy Lening. How are you, Fred? Well, everybody back in Fairless Hills holding tight here now as we start the finals, Fred?
I hope so.
How about all the kids back home?
Oh, if they were here, they'd make a lot of noise.
They make a lot of noise. Well, you might have to make a lot of noise with that bowling ball because you got a pretty tough cookie here over the next 2 weeks.
I'm sure of that, and I'm sure I'll let him know I'm around.
You are going to let him know you're around. Well, the last time you appeared a couple of weeks ago, you predicted you'd shoot 690. You let us down. You only shot 689. Let's bring him out here, ladies and gentlemen. He set an all-time record in the qualifying rounds. Billy Hardwick with 1466. Billy, congratulations to you. Well, as Bill has been kidding, it'll be youth against, I won't say age, but this guy's still pretty tough. You've seen him in action many times, I'm sure.
I've bowled against him quite a bit, Freddie.
Hey, you're not going to follow his line, are you?
No, I'm going to try not to.
You have one of your own.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen of Akron, we're ready to start the finals. 6 games, total pins over the next 2 weeks from Akron, Ohio. Let's give them a good start. All right? Championship bowling, ladies and gentlemen, from Akron, Ohio. The start of the finals over the next 2 weeks. A $15,000 purse. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, against Billy Hardwick from San Mateo, California. This is Fred Wolf, along with Bill Bonetta. Lening starts it off. He's in there, and he carries it, striking the first frame. As Billy Hardwick now moves in on the right. All competition moves right to left, with the exception of the first frame of each game, which must start on the left side. Lane 26, lane 25, here at the Bowlerama in Akron, Ohio. Billy Hardwick, who set an all-time record, 2 700 totals in his 2 previous matches, does not carry the strike in the first frame, leaves the 5-pin. Hardwick defeated Salvino in his first match, 7-10 to 672. Last week, he defeated Ray Bluth, 756 to 614. Lening defeated Ron Winger in his first appearance with 674. He had 689 against Johnny Gunther. They're the two top scorers for two appearances on championship bowling, where you see the world's greatest bowlers in action every week. Well, Bill Bonetta, one frame gone. Give us a little idea here of the contrast in styles.
Well, of course, Billy Hardwick has what we call a line-type ball. He's extremely accurate. The ball is of a medium speed. In fact, maybe even a little slower. Fred Lening has a lift and turn ball, producing a lot of strikes on.
Hardwick with a strike. Spare strike for Billy. Last week he started with a first 7. When he defeated Ray Bluth, he opened with 279. Both boys have won both their matches. Hardwick has won $2,900 in 2 appearances. Lening has won $2,550 in 2 appearances. And the solid 10, and Freddie was in there as deep as he could get. So it's a break for Hardwick.
How about the different expressions of these two bowlers, Fred? You notice each time that Fred leaves a 10%, he grimaces, and Hardwick takes everything in stride and keeps rolling that ball after ball. Both Tigers, though.
Cross lane, 10-pin, Lening covers the spare. We go into the third frame as Freddie moves to the left. The other top scorers in their 2 matches, it was Hardwick on top, then Lening, followed by Ray Bluth with 13-15, Carmen Salvino, 12-98, Andy Morsich, 12-96, Harry Smith, 12-85, Jim Schroeder, 12-78, George Howard, 12-74, Johnny Gunther, 12-71. Right back in the pocket, and another 10-pin. He got a piece of that one, the 6-pin going right around it into the channel. So Lening is in that pocket, Bill, but we can't carry.
Well, it seems to me, as I recall, Fred, a couple of weeks ago, that Fred started in a similar fashion. And then he really took charge the last 2 games, bowling 2 consecutive 240-plus games.
Yes, he opened with 195 and really came roaring back. At the 10-pin, another conversion. Well, these boys cover that 10-pin with very little. Lening was unable to get his double, but he certainly followed his opening strike with 2 solid pocket hits. Hardwick, the fellow who just about carries more of his pocket hits than any man in the game today. Well, they almost had the 5-7 up there, get the 5 out, nothing but the 7-pin, no doubles yet, and it's early.
Well, Fred, I believe that Hardwick has excellent speed control. Reminding me of another great star, of course, Don Carter. And Hardwick, although relatively young, has seemed to master the idea of letting the ball go a little sooner or a little later, controlling his speed.
Billy Hardwick now covers his spare. This match even, practically just 1 pin separating the 2 of them at the end of 3. They will go 6 games. These 2 men from a field of 24, the world's greatest bowlers who've been in action here for 24 weeks. There's a 10-pin for Hardwick. And they're a little stubborn this week so far, Bill.
Well, it's just like 2 great boxers feeling each other out, Fred. I believe that these bowlers are a little careful right now, but as soon as that little bit of tension that's sometimes necessary wears off, I believe both boys will string a lot of strikes.
At the 10, Hardwick tough. Fred Lening now moving in on the right side. Has 4 daughters and 1 son, was a great semi-pro baseball and football player. Back in the pocket. The 10-pin is out of there this time. Back in 1963, in May, in interest you, Bill, he rolled his first sanctioned 300 score. And by the end of 1963, he had chalked up 4 of them. We go into the 5th. Lening now with a chance to take the lead again. He's on the strike. Hardwick is on the spare, up short, very short approach. 4 steps, the turn, here it comes. It's there, and the 7-pin is out of there. It's the first double of the match. Fred Lening, 2 weeks ago, he opened with 195, came back with 2 240 games for 689. Before the show started, on the air, he said, well, I think I can get 690. He got 689. Hardwick now back in the 1-3 and carries. So at the end of 5, first game of 6, 3 games this week, 3 games next week on championship bowling. For the championship, Lening is 59 in the third on 2. Hardwick is 79 in the fourth on a single strike. We're in the 6th. First game. Hardwick is up there, and there's Billy's first double. So things have evened up again, as Lening now needs this one to keep that 10-pin advantage. Freddie is on 2. This fella never threw a bowling ball until he was 28 years of age. He sets it there, and he kicked it out. Oh, he got a nice kick on that one. And I'll tell you, Bill, before the next 2 weeks are over, we're going to see a lot of those splashers, because this guy can really separate those pins.
I may remind you, Fred, that a couple of weeks ago we said that he hit the pocket 30 consecutive times. I believe he's continued that string. I hope we don't jinx him.
That's right. He hasn't been out. In his last appearance, he left the 2-5 and the bucket and the 5-7. Those were the only hits that actually didn't kick them out. He's still in the pocket. Oh, boy. Great bang. Oh, man, he buried that one. So that's 4. Now Billy Hardwick is on the spot. Had a great year in 1963. After making the PBA Tour in 62 and not winning one single dollar, in 63, he was the leading money winner with over $33,000. Just like that. This fella just doesn't know what a challenge is, does he, Bill? If he needs a strike, he just goes up there and gets it.
He may know what the challenge is, but he certainly has been able to rise to the occasion many, many times in the past 2 years. So.
We go into the 8th. Lening on the verge of bonus money. 5 strikes in a row in any one game. We start a $250 bonus. Filling in the 30s. Lening is 119 double. Hardwick is 119 double E. There's another one. 4. No doubt about that. The 1964 All-Events champion of the American Bowling Congress. We're in the 8th. Lening needs this one to keep that 10-pin advantage and start the bonus money rolling. $250 strike. It's out, it's back, it's there, it's in, and he carries. And here we go, Bill. How about that? 5 strikes. That's 250. He still has room for 4 more.
Remarkable. He has really been in that pocket, and the ball has been alive.
Well, you know what he lost, Bill? 2 solid 10 pins in the 2nd and 3rd frame. Hardwick has lost a 5, a 7, and a 10. So we have had every ball in the pocket through 8 frames. In the 9th, that's in there too. Yes, sir. Well, I knew it was in there when he let it go, but you have to wait him out to see if he can carry. And here is Fred Lening, and I might tell you, he is the underdog going into this match. Everybody feels that the magician, as we've nicknamed him here in Akron, Ohio, should win the match. But don't you ever think for 1 minute that Mr. Hardwick's going to have an easy time. We're in the 9th now. Billy needs this to stay with him. How about that? Now Hardwick will move left for bonus money. Oh, that is bonus money. My. These boys string them out so quickly, Bill, I miss it. That is 5 in a row for Hardwick.
Could easily be shaken up a little bit watching this match. Of course, we're at a vantage point here, and I'm certainly enjoying the match, as well as talking about it.
Well, Mr. Walter Schwimmer, our executive producer here in Akron this week, along with Ed Elias, executive secretary of the PBA. That's too high, and Hardwick finally gets a ball out of the pocket. He leaves the 3-6-10, and Mr. Lening now in the position to really get out in front. Three, 6-10, cross lane, tough shot, he covers. Nice work. Billy Hardwick. He had 9 in a row in the pocket, picks up $250 more bonus money. In his appearance last week, Billy picked up $350 in the first game when he started with 7 in a row, $300 in the 3rd game. He has won $900 in bonus money. There's the 10 pin, and that's a good spot for that. So $900 and $250 more. Billy has now won $1,125 in bonus money, and with a 235 start, Hardwick's average has dropped 1 pin.
Oh, my goodness.
Going in with a 244 average. Let's watch Fred Lening. He's out in front. The veteran from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania,
In the pocket.
Still in that pocket, and he buried that one. So that's at least 13 more pins for Lening. Hardwick was on the string, counted 7. Lening on a string now, a mile long, and he gets the strike, so he can pick up another 10. That'll be a 23-pin pickup here in the 10th frame for Lening. He now has 7 strikes in a row. That's $350 in bonus money. This one for $400. The turn, he'll have to hurry. He'll have to hurry. And that's as far as he has been out of the pocket. The bucket, the 2-4-5-8. I think Freddie thought he might still get there, Bill.
Yes, he probably figured he had a little extra lift on the end there, but I believe he just sent it out a shade too far, out in the grass or the ice, as we call it, Fred.
The full cover here, 255. 20 pins. Lening out in front. That's it, Fred Lening, 255. The first game of 6, the finals of championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. Billy Hardwick with 235. This is Fred Wolf along with Bill Bonetta from the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio, the rubber capital of the world. Here are the scores for the first game, ladies and gentlemen. The finals from Akron, Ohio. In the first game, Fred Lening, 255. Billy Hardwick, 235. How'd you like that, Akron? All right, ready for the second game. Billy Hardwick from San Mateo, California, trailing by 20 pins. The start of the second game of 6, the finals from Akron, Ohio. 3 games this week, 3 games next week. Hardwick against Fred Lening. Lening with 255, Hardwick with 235, and Billy didn't get there. He leaves the 2-pin. Bill Bonetta from Fresno, California, sitting in with us this week. And Bill, we have 1 game now in the record book, and the boys are off to a pretty good start.
Boy, I'm still breathless after that first game, Fred. 2 fine competitors, both hitting the pocket with remarkable consistency. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 games.
At the 2-pin, Hardwick covers the spare. Very interesting, too, Bill, in that Hardwick was averaging 244 for his 6 games in the qualifying rounds. He opened with 235, and his average now has dropped to 243.
Feel sorry for him.
Lening averaged 227, so he's picked up a couple of pins. He ought to be up around 230. Dig that one, boy. Yes, sir. What a lift he had on that.
That ball was similar, wasn't it, to the second ball? Yes.
To the 2-4-5-8, the bucket he left on the second ball in the 10th. That's why he ran that one out. We both felt that he thought that ball might move. He was right in the same spot, but that one he had the lift, the follow through, the fingers doing their job, and that ball came right into the 1-3 pocket. Lening now with a chance to get another 10 pins. He'd like this one. Big turn, and he turned that one too much. He leaves the 6-10. Well, that's the first ball he's been out of the pocket now in what, 4 games?
At least 4 games.
The 3 games in his appearance 2 weeks ago when he shot 689. He went through the whole first game. All he left was 2 10 pins and a bucket, that in the 10th. And here was a nose hit, the 6-10, he covers the spare. So Hardwick now, not losing anything here. Lening unable to get the double. Billy started with a spare. The leading money winner on the Professional Bowlers Association Tour in 1963, won over $33,000. That's there. Solid 10 pin, and we haven't seen Billy leave a solid 10.
That's extremely rare for Billy. As I remarked before, his medium speed ball seems to allow that 6-pin to kick that 10-pin out practically every time.
On the 64 tour, Probably many of you folks have seen this fella in action on television and around the country. He won close to $19,000, winning the Birmingham Open, the Pontiac Open, the Costa Mesa California Open. The first PBA that he won in 1963 was in his home state where he was born, the Mobile, Alabama Open, and that started him off. He won the Phoenix Open, the Los Angeles Open, and the PBA National in Long Island, New York. Oh, look out, another 10-pin, the old in-betweener that time. Though he seemed to have that one a little slower than slow.
Yes, and I believe that he didn't have the fingers in it, Fred. As you remarked a little while ago about Freddie's ball, it's necessary to get the fingers in the ball. That is, lift the ball with the fingers to produce the roll.
Hang on, he's got the 10-pin. So Billy covering his second 10-pin in the third, and Fred Lening now will try to get back at that pocket. Former Philadelphia Match Game champion, Eastern Classic champion, winner of the Empire State Open in Albany, New York on the PBA Tour. Freddie doesn't make too many events on the tour, but they sure know he's there. There's a 4-7. It's pretty tight.
I believe his makeup, Fred, several times the past 2 weeks or so, he said, well, they'll know I'm there, or I'll shoot this or that. This is the way he feels. He feels very strongly that he's capable, he's ready, and he sure produces, doesn't he?
I think he always feels that he's second best. I do. He feels he's second best, and he's going to prove to himself that he isn't, and prove to everybody else, and that's what this guy can do, and do pretty well. At the end of 3, the match is even here in the second game. The margin is still 20. Lening picking up 20 pins in the first game, 255 to 235. A beautiful kickoff here. 6 games over the next 2 weeks on Championship Bowling. Oh, look out. Well, he got a little action. He hit that 7-pin up near the top. Looked like it was going to go over.
Quite a murmur in the audience when that pin was shaking back and forth. Of course, they're good pins, Fred.
Yes, sir. They're AMF tournament grade registered pins. And incidentally, that AMF automatic pin spotter put that 7-pin right back off spot where it was. There it is. Oh, that was right in the middle, wasn't it? 4th frame now for Billy Hardwick. Yes, sir. We didn't have a double until the 5th frame, actually. 4th and 5th for Lening. Here's Mr. Hardwick. Throws, and he is there. So Hardwick now with a chance for the first double of the second game. We've talked, Bill, many times about Hardwick. I know Pat Patterson went into much detail on it. In fact, Pat is now a 3-finger, that is, using the first 2 fingers of a 3-finger ball. What is your opinion of Hardwick in these 2 fingers?
Well,
First 2.
That's what we call a baseball grip, and it allows his other 2 fingers, the ring finger and the little pinky, to lift the ball. It's similar to Ned Day, as you recall. He had a full roller. Hardwick has a full roller. I believe that it's an advantage for him to use those 2 fingers. Of course, he accidentally got this style, but it's sure worked for him.
Oh, come on, buddy. I can't help but notice here, Bill, that Lening is starting to curve that ball a little more. He is turning it more and giving it more room, and this could possibly be working on Fred. He's going to try throwing it out farther or trying to hold a line, and he's going to give it that big turn, and he's going to end up on the nose.
Yes, that happens quite frequently. A bowler starts to fish.
We're at the end of 5, halfway. Championship Bowling, the finals from Akron, Ohio. Lening, 76 with a spare. Hardwick is 58 in the third, and he works on 2. We're in the 6th frame of the second game. The margin now is only 10 pins. Lening still out in front, and there's that nose hit we just mentioned, the 6-10, and I think Fred is beginning to overturn a little bit. That's not the angle we saw here in the first game or 2 weeks ago.
No, it appears now that he's actually steering the ball a little bit. And this is very dangerous because one ball goes to the right, one goes to the left. We call it push-pull, click-click. That means that you can leave a couple of 3 6-10s or 6-10s and pick the cherry and so on.
Hurry up. There's the cover. Well, I'm sure that Fred realizes what's going on. The question is now, can he pull himself out? Because Mr. Hardwick, with this strike, can take the lead for the first time. Billy has trailed all the way. And Billy taking advantage of the AMF automatic equipment just by pushing a button.
You've noticed in the past weeks, Fred, how many times these bowlers, when they really want another strike, they do that for some reason, just, I guess, to get geared up properly. And many times they get the strike.
Billy, a great user of that hand dryer, too. Another fine bit of progress in bowling that AMF has come up with. Just look for the magic triangle. He knew what he was doing. Right there, number 3. Boy, nothing bothers this guy.
Hard to shake Billy Hardwick up.
He took a re-rack and laid it right in the 1-3 pocket, and now it's Billy Hardwick getting into position for the long run home. He's out in front for the first time, working on 3. Moving into position for bonus money. He set an all-time record in the qualifying rounds with 14.66, and a solid 10 stops him. The all-time record on championship bowling for a winner was Bobby Kowalik in the Northbrook, Illinois series when he averaged 228 for his 12 games. Well, Hardwick has quite a lot of pins to be out in front of that if he just hangs on here and becomes the winner. He covers the 10 pin, so for Hardwick it's 137 spare as Lening moves in the 7th frame, working on a spare. Got to go. 10 pin goes right around it. 6 pin went around it. The 10 pin's still up there. So Lening did straighten out that rounder a little bit there. Bill, I think he realizes what he's been doing.
Occasionally a bowler will do this, but if he senses it, he could correct it.
At the 10 pin, big lift. He covers. He has the spare. So Lening now will move to the left. The margin here in this game, 24 pins. Hardwick out in front. He trailed by 20. The margin is 4 pins. We go into the 8th frame of the second game. 6 games, total pins. 3 games this week, 3 games next week. From the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio. Championship bowling, the finals. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up. And Mr. Lening tickled him that time. You just don't see Hardwick get many hits like that, do you, Bill? He's either solid, well, he's solid most of the time. He just doesn't go around enough to carry that type of a hit.
No, he has a few hits that he carries actually a little higher. Fred has a tendency to carry the light hits, and Hardwick the higher type hits.
In the 8th, there's the thin hit, and Billy did not carry. Almost had the 5-7. That's the second time that he's kicked the 5-7 apart. So Hardwick now giving Lening a chance to take the lead back. Freddie has that big strike in the 8th and the big 9th frame coming up. The margin is 3 pins, and Hardwick is out in front. He'll move left. We were talking about the first 2 fingers that Billy uses. And you did mention, Bill, that this, he didn't plan it this way. His 3rd finger, I don't know, possibly you've had a look at it, he injured it in a machine shop accident when he was going to high school. And actually, he has no knuckle at all in that 3rd finger. It's just as straight as can be. So he couldn't put it in a hole.
He said he tried it for a while and averaged about 190, but it wasn't satisfied, so he used the 2 fingers, as we call the baseball grip.
Well, there's another solid 10 for Hardwick. In the first frame, he was a little short, left the 2-pin. He came back with 2 10s, 3 strikes, a 10, a 7, and a 10.
He made those 3 strikes count, though. They were in the 4th, 5th, and 6th frames, and that's the way they count most.
At the 10-pin, he covers the spare. Billy Hardwick from San Mateo, California. That's about 20 miles south of San Francisco, against Fred Lening, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Freddie resides in Yardley, Pennsylvania, member of the PBA, a proprietor, a recreation director, and he also runs a golf course. That's keeping pretty busy. Come on. Well, there's the first real bad pitch we've seen Freddie throw in a long time. He really went around. He missed the head pin, the 1-2-8, so it's still Hardwick by about 3 pins. That would have given Lening the lead back. Look out, look out, look out. Oh, he just got a piece of that 8-pin. Freddie just got a piece of the 8-pin. Looked like the ball caught it.
Quite a few oohs in the audience here.
Lening won the first game, 255 to 235. Hardwick with a triple. Lening with 2 single strikes. In the 10th, big turn. He's short again, leaves the 2-pin.
Well, he had the turn, but didn't have the lift. He has that lift-turn combination. If you leave one out or overdo one part of that, usually the result is you don't hit that 1-3 pocket the way you'd like to. There's a good roll.
There we are. So Fred Lening, who had quite a string going for him, 2 weeks ago, he opened with 195 and followed with 2 240 games, 246 and 248. He opened this week in the finals, where he finished second to Bill Hardwick with 1363 for 6 games with 255. Now he's back down to 190, 192 with a full count. There it is. There's the 4-pin. Now, Freddie has lost more hits in this game than he's lost in his last 4.
Yeah, Fred, but 191 with just 2 strikes and all the rest spares is a fairly good score.
Hardwick now moving in on the right. He has a slight lead of a couple of pins. He can add 10 pins to that with a double in the 10th. No bonus money this game. Both boys cashed in the first game. There's that shaker. You don't see him get too many of those. He's usually solid, but he showed us enough there to really pick him up. A chance for 225.
I'm sure he was thinking about, I must have scrapped that one. We kid him about pushing the ball or steering it or not having too much on the ball. Kiddingly, of course.
How about this one? Oh, there's that 10-pin up there. I think Billy's a little surprised this game. He's not used to looking at that 10-pin this much.
No, he isn't. Watching him rather closely on a PBA tour in the last few years, he's just surprised when he leaves anything. And by golly, the kid really has something, Fred.
Well, that was his 5th 10-pin this game. And he had 1 10-pin the first game. The cover for 215. For Fred Lening, 191. This match practically even. It's championship bowling with the world's greatest bowlers. Fred Wolf along with Bill Bonetta from the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio, the home of the Professional Bowlers Association. Fred Lening will start the 3rd and final game here, the first half of the finals of championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. Fred Wolf along with Bill Bonetta. It's a close one. Hardwick leading by only 4 pins at the end of the second game. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up, and Mr. Lening is off with a good solid strike. And he didn't have a strike that good in the entire last game.
No, he didn't. Well, he didn't guide or steer that ball. He let that one go freely.
First game, he started fast with a strike, then 2 solid 10 pins, and right back with 7 strikes in a row for 255. Hardwick started chasing him in the 5th, got 5 in a row in there for bonus money, finished with 235. So Billy Hardwick moving in on the right side, on his way to a new all-time scoring record if he can maintain this pace. as a finalist on championship bowling, and there was a ball that Mr. Hardwick is famous for, that I'm sure some of you pros, Bill, look at sort of, well, you say, gee, there wasn't much on that ball. He must have been lucky.
Yeah, well, we said that for a while, but if you do it repeatedly, it's not luck, and he does it.
He does it repeatedly and repeatedly. That's my point. He has something that when that ball hits the pocket, he lets the pins do a little more work than the boys with the high hard ones. Look at that. Oh, boy.
You know, Fred, when we say something, I guess that's the answer, because I've talked to many pros, and you'd be surprised how many different answers we get when we try to analyze Billy Hardwick's achievements and how, you know, he got to be that good in such a short time.
Yeah, still a youngster. Lening now's got a match. Lening's got a match. He matches, and here we go again. And the old moose from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, will certainly, as he likes to say, I'll let him know that I was there. And boy, has he been doing that. He got away to a 20-pin lead in a hurry, but he lost it in the second game. The margin's still 4 pins. They've both started with doubles. Big stakes, great talent. Number 3. Beautiful ball. Fred Lening, 200-pounder, and he admits to the fact that he could be Billy Hardwick's daddy, at least as far as the age is concerned. And the other interesting fact, Lening didn't throw a bowling ball until he was 28 years of age. By the time Hardwick gets to be 28, he'll be one of the world's greatest. Look at that. Well, Lening answered the challenge. He came right back with 2. Now Hardwick has answered the challenge. We're even at the end of 3. Very easy to keep score, Bill, this way.
Oh, yes, it is. Fred, quite often in my travels for AMF, I'm asked, do bowlers try to psych each other? That is, use some psychological advantage or a trick or a gimmick to throw the other bowler off. And I think that throwing 4, 5, 6 strikes in a row is enough to upset your bowler.
Best way to do it.
Right.
There it is. What a great stylist, this fella. The ball just seems to roll straight ahead. He doesn't go the wide route. Hardwick's ball just seems to roll. But what control. Look at here. I think Freddie was pretty happy with that one.
Well, both styles are effective, and that shows that there's plenty of room for individuality, Fred, in the game of bowling. You don't have to copy any one particular bowler style.
Well, we've got to get out the bonus checks here. Both boys are on 4. 5 strikes in a row in any game, a $250 bonus, $50 for each additional strike. In the first game, they both cashed in. Lening with 7, Hardwick with 5. Lening first. On the left. It's out. It's coming back. It's there, and there's number 5. Boy, he's going to have to watch that foul line out there. And if Freddie keeps stringing him out, he's got to have sore knees. He was really down there. So now Mr. Hardwick must answer the challenge again. We have 9 strikes in a row. Walter Schwimmer, our executive producer, with us this week, making $10,000 signs, which will go for a 300 score, and Hardwick is in there again, and he does not carry the 10-pin. A beautiful hit. Solid. That was just too solid for Billy.
Oh, boy. Well, that's unusual, as we said before, a lead for Hardwick, and he certainly rolled that ball right in the pocket.
All the way down.
All the way down is right. You can call his shots a lot easier than Freddie's, actually.
Right between the first and second diamond, and it just goes right straight on down into the pocket. Not exactly straight. I don't want to say straight, but straight toward the pocket. At the end of 5 in the third and final game, Lening now out in front. Freddie has all strikes. Hardwick is 109 in the 4th with a solid 10-pin in the 5th. We're in the 6th frame of the final game. Billy Hardwick now trailing by 7 pins. He's back in that pocket, and he leaves another 10-pin. That one a little soft. I think on that in that 5th frame, Billy really gave that a little extra. The speed was noticeable. It was a little faster, and that just is probably why he left that 10-pin. You remember last week, Ray Bluth, with that speed, he just couldn't carry. Hardwick covers the spare, and now Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, who took an early lead of 20 pins. He has the first 5, a chance to add 20 more pins to his margin, and another $100, $50 a strike, and pins that are so important for 10,000 more. There's another strike. Oh, this fella's beautiful to watch. How hard he works and how little work Hardwick seems to do.
Yes. That seems to be the key here, Fred. They both have different styles. Both work within their own confines. Freddie works extremely hard, lifts, turns. Hardwick rolls, both striking.
The first 6. In the 7th. Big turn, big lift. It's there. It's there. Oh! 7 pin does not budge. A good hit for Fred Lening. And it would have been certainly a big strike because it meant another 10 pins. Hardwick unable to strike in the last 2 frames. The margin now around 17 pins. These boys will meet head-to-head again next week. 6 games, total pins for the championship of championship bowling. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up. These the 2 highest scorers for their 2 appearances when 24 of the world's greatest bowlers were matched here in Akron, Ohio at the Bowlerama Lanes. And it's been a thrilling 24 weeks. But this week, Bill, you've got to say, has really been the start of 2 great weeks.
Yes, it is.
There's the old magician right back in the pocket. He started with 4, 2 10 pins, and now the next strike. This double will cut the margin down to less than 10 pins. Well, certainly nobody's going to have a very big lead to go into next week, Bill.
No, they're not, and it's going to make a very good show for next week, of course. I notice the audience here is not taking any particular side. They're rooting for both bowlers because they are performing real well.
For the double. There it is. So Hardwick has had every ball in that pocket. There's no doubt about that. 2 10 pins. Chance for 268, and he can have his 3rd straight 700 total. Bill, do you realize that?
Mm-hmm.
That 228 average that Bobby Kowalik racked up will be long gone. And we see another great performance by Ned Day, 227 average in the finals. Lening back in there, and let's assume that Mr. Lening could have the first 8. 2 10 pins and a 7 pin.
Well, he'd had a good hold on that $10,000 had he carried that one in a 7th frame.
We go into the 9th. Both men on strikes. The margin is 7 pins. If Lening gets this one, he can force Hardwick to get his in the 9th. If he doesn't get it, Hardwick can take the lead in the 4th pin. He's just a little tight. Now, he left a 7 pin on a shaker. Do you think he possibly thought, was thinking of that, Fred? Because this time, or Bill, this time he was a little high.
This happens so often, Fred, that I'd have to assume, yes, that he made an adjustment. Whether it was conscious or unconscious, he made it.
At the 4 pin. What a worker. Fred Lening, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Oh, that was a big one for him, as was the tap in the 7th. So Freddie lost a couple of good ones on the left side. And Hardwick now, the cool potato, needing this strike to take the lead back. The lead is seesawed here 2 or 3 times already, and it just could continue this way right through next week's show. Hardwick now ready to break some more records. 3 consecutive 700s. There it is. He opened with 710 against Carmen Salvino. Last week against Ray Bluth, he shot 756 to get into the finals. Of course, total pins are dropped. For the finals, it's 6 games starting from scratch. He needs the first strike for his 3rd consecutive 700. He went into this match averaging 244. If he goes all the way for 718, his average will drop a pin or 2. You have anything to say, Bill? This is becoming so automatic here. Strike, strike, strike.
It's automatic, or in appearance anyway, but it's not quite that easy.
Not that easy.
This fellow is just good.
That's 4 in a row. We're going to cash some bonus money here again. Billy started this game with 4 and a solid 10-pin, robbed him of $250. He's on 4 again. No 10-pin. He didn't get there, and he left the 2-pin. So I think Billy was thinking of that $250, if that's possible.
Well, 700 is a magic number, too. He rolled that one to get to 700, and then kind of a little let down there. Shouldn't have been, but...
707 with the cover. Sounds like an airliner.
Yes, it does.
There it is. Billy Hardwick, ladies and gentlemen. One of the greatest young bowlers to come up in many, many a year. His 3rd consecutive 700 total, 707. Lening can go all the way for 259. This match should be practically even, 705, and he couldn't get the 7 out of there. Lening had to go all the way for 705. Boy, what a start. 707, 705. It can't happen now, but 248 will give Lening 694, and that'll be 5 pins better than he had 2 weeks ago when he predicted that he would shoot 690. The margin is not going to be any more than 12 or 13, 14 pins. That'll be about it. A great exhibition here of pocket shooting by our 2 finalists. Championship bowling, where every week you see 2 of the world's greatest bowlers in match game competition. It's the finals, the first 3 games. These 2 men will meet again next week. Bill Bonetta will be with us again next week. Come on, Frederick. Get it up there. That's the boy. Well, Freddie gets the full count for 248. For Billy Hardwick, 257. We'll check these totals and make them official, have a word or two with these 2 great stars. And this is Fred Wolf along with Bill Bonetta at the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio, where the World Series of Golf is played annually. Here are the final results, ladies and gentlemen. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 255, 191, a 248 finish for 694. For Billy Hardwick, 235, 215, the 257 finish, the total 707. Did you enjoy this match, ladies and gentlemen? Let's call Daddy Lening out here now for his bonus money. Ready? Well, you know you've got 3 more games to go next week, so you'll have a chance to rest up a little bit.
I'm going to need it.
You're averaging something like, Fred, 228 for all your games you've bowled thus far. You shot 694, and you are not leading. You're 13 pins behind.
Yeah, I don't have quite enough, do I?
Well, next week you got to get 14 more than he does, that's all.
If this fellow ever stops shooting 700s, I might have a shot. I can only get to 690.
What do you think you're good for next week? You know, I made you give me a little prediction once before.
I'm not going to say, but I hope I get enough, whatever it is.
You hope you get 14 pins more?
More than he does.
Then who? Who is this fella?
A young chap by the name of Billy Hardwick.
Let's bring him up here, ladies and gentlemen. Billy Hardwick. Let me finish my business here with Fred. He does very well in his bonus department. $300 bonus, $350 bonus, and to you, Billy, a $250 bonus. You can't seem to get more than 5 in a row. Are you in a slump?
Yeah. Well, that's the way things are going. I don't mind. 3, 4 in a row every now and then.
You don't mind. You know, young man, that you now have rolled 3 consecutive 700s. You're about ready to set a new scoring record, so I want you to keep in shape for next week, because Mr. Lening could just get a little tough on you, and I know you're aware of that.
I believe he's planning on it.
He's planning on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next week from Akron, Ohio, the final 3 games of championship bowling. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up. Let's give them a good send-off and hope they make it next week. Boys, good luck. Ready? Repeating the scores, next week, the final 3 games, the wrap-up here of championship bowling from the Firestone Bowlerama in Akron, Ohio. Repeating the scores for Billy Hardwick, 707, his 3rd consecutive 700 total, His average, incidentally, has dropped to 241 per game. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, with 694. The margin, 13 pins. Sure hope you can join us next week on Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show, where you see the world's greatest bowlers in action every week. Until then, this is Fred Wolf, just saying, keep 'em bowling out there. It's great fun. Matching shirts and slacks used on Championship Bowling by King Louie. Championship Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce Championship Bowling.